Within the UK, it is commonly recognised that there is a legal requirement for all waste movements to be documented using a waste transfer note. But is that really true? Here are 3 situations where a waste transfer note may not be required. Let's take a look. Welcome to EMSmastery, where we look at the successful strategies and tactics to master environmental management and sustainability. If we're meeting for the first time, my name is Andrew Marlowe. This episode looks at the use of the waste transfer note for documenting waste movements within the UK. This is a requirement that can be misunderstood by environmental managers, auditors and many others in the movement of waste. Indeed, it is a common occurrence to see certification body auditors reviewing waste transfer note files at their clients' offices and readily coming up with non-conformities such as the lack of signatures or SIC and waste codes. This episode will go further and challenge your understanding of what is a waste transfer note and how to use them by proposing 3 scenarios when a waste transfer note may not be required. Firstly, a disclaimer. The contents of this episode are for educational purposes to illustrate situations that I have seen in the past where a waste transfer note is not required. However, you should take your own legal and environmental management advice based on your own situation and the waste management needs of your organisation and not rely solely on this video. Let's recap on the use of a waste transfer note, which has been well enshrined in UK legislation for 30 years since the 1st of April 1992, when the Environmental Protection Duty of Care Regulations 1991 brought in a requirement for waste transfer notes for England, Scotland and Wales. Please note that these regulations have been revoked and are no longer the current legal requirement. For the reasons why they are not the current version, please watch this episode linked in the card above and referenced at the end of this video. Indeed, the concept of documenting waste movements has been further developed as a legal requirement through to the current legislation for England and Wales, being the Waste England and Wales Regulations 2011. For Scotland, the Environmental Protection Duty of Care Scotland Regulations 2014, and in Northern Ireland, the Controlled Waste and Duty of Care Regulations Northern Ireland 2013. The underlying principle for a waste transfer note is that at its simplest, it documents the waste transfer from the waste producer, such as a manufacturing site or office, to the waste carrier who transports the waste to be transferred to its final destination, whether that is a final disposal point, such as a landfill, or an intermediate transfer station or recycling facility. So, it is a simple concept. How can there possibly be a time when a waste transfer note is not required? Let's explore 3 scenarios when a waste transfer note may not be required. The first scenario is the transfer of hazardous waste, as defined in England, Wales and Northern Ireland, or special waste in Scotland. In each case, the movement of hazardous or special waste is exempted from the requirement for a waste transfer note, provided a consignment note or, where appropriate, a schedule is used in accordance with the relevant legislation. For England and Wales, this is Regulation 35(7) of the Waste England and Wales Regulations 2011. In Scotland, it is Regulation 4 of the Environmental Protection Duty of Care Scotland Regulations 2014, and in Northern Ireland, it is Regulation 3.2 of the Controlled Waste and Duty of Care Regulations Northern Ireland 2013. If you're getting value out of this episode, please click on the like button, and if you want to see more videos on environmental and sustainability topics, please subscribe to this YouTube channel and hit the bell icon to ensure that you receive advance notification of new videos. Our second scenario is the transfer of waste destined to be exported, imported, or that transits the UK between the originating country and its final destination country. The relevant legislation, which covers the whole of the UK, is the Transfer Shipment of Waste Regulations 2007 and the Amendment Regulations 2014. The European Union's Waste Shipment Regulation, as amended by two Brexit regulations, namely the International Waste Shipments Amendment EU Regulations 2019 and the International Waste Shipments Amendment of the European Regulation in 2022. So, whilst I could not find a specific exemption from the normal use of the waste transfer note, it is expected that the transfer shipment form contains the relevant information which will otherwise be contained on the waste transfer note and will negate the latter's use, especially given the system of prior notification of international waste shipments and their approval requirements. My third and final scenario for this episode is the movement of waste controlled and managed by the same legal entity. For example, a construction company has waste metal left over after a job in an office refurbishment. The company's employees transport the metal waste in the company's van and take it to their depot to put into a skip with other metal wastes. So, to analyse this scenario in more detail, the same legal entity, the construction company, is in possession of the waste from its generation at the office refurbishment, through its transportation and to its storage at their depot. At no time is the waste transferred to another person or party. So there is no need for a waste transfer note, as the note is used for all waste transfers, but in this scenario there has not been such a waste transfer. The outcome of this third and final scenario is based on the principles of the duty of care and of the use of the waste transfer note. No waste transfer, no waste transfer note needed. I hope that this episode has challenged your thinking on the use of a waste transfer note, as it may not be needed in every scenario where waste is moved, either by exemption for hazardous or special waste, the use of another form, say for the transfrontier shipments of waste, or simply that a waste transfer has not taken place. Do you agree with my scenarios, or have you seen different situations when a waste transfer note is not required? Leave a comment in the box below to continue that dialogue. Further information on the legislation and waste movement documents referenced in this episode are given in the description box below, including a link to the resources on the EMSmastery.com website. Please subscribe to this YouTube channel to ensure that you don't miss out on other episodes on environmental management and sustainability. Until then, thank you for listening. If you enjoyed this video, you can watch other episodes by clicking on the boxes in the top and bottom right, And to subscribe to this channel, click on the link to the left. Thank you.